Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I chose an appropriate time to do this for the UK. So it's currently 6:30 p.m. So I thought that would be a good time. This is a UK case. So I tried to use a good time for those in the UK. So I did a live, like I started the live about 1 o'clock or something like that in the morning, my time yesterday. And I appreciate that that wasn't a very good time for people in the UK. And I think there's been a lot of UK interest in this. All the BBC, Sky News, all the national newspapers are covering this case extensively now in the UK, but I'm not sure how far this case has got internationally. So if you've been following my videos on the Nicola Bulley case, then you'll know the case. But if you haven't, and this is the first you're hearing about it, then I'm glad you are, right? Because, I cover American cases almost like 90% of the time. So when there's a UK case, especially when it's very close to where I live, then of course I'm going to cover it. And this case has occurred just 25 miles away from where I live. It's more northern than where I live, but it's in the same county. Like the county stretches all the way up to the Cumbrian border. So I'm in the south of Lancashire and Nicola is kind of central, but more northerly. So about 25 miles away. So I'm glad that people who are in other countries overseas are interested in this case, at least on my channel. But I can see the chat's very quiet. So if this was an American case, there'd be more people in. But it's not the amount of people, it's quality over quantity, right? So let's say a few hellos. Sharon, fly on the wall, finally made it and made it early. Diane, Chris, we've had this conversation, if you're still in chat. StreamYard doesn't support closed captions, but you can put closed captions on at your end. If you use Google Chrome, use the Google Chrome browser, just go into your settings and just type in captions and then just toggle the captions on. And that will then show closed captions for you. And that's the way you can do it very easily. It'll take you 2 seconds to do it. Just go into your settings on Google Chrome and toggle captions on. Irene, Linda. Who else have we got in here? Blanbriel. Hello. Sandy. Cole. Kirsten, sorry. Bug Love. Yeah, like if you haven't already. Rhonda. Dragonfly Lady. Betsy's Barn. Tracy. Beach Fairy. Hold on. Purple AJ. Pie in the Sky. Ella. Being covered in the US too. That's good. Hidden Existence. Journey Takes a Trip. Sweet Insanity. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, Sparrow. I'm going to talk about that shortly. Okie dokie. Hail Bop. Santa Anna Wins. Paper Chaser. Tammy, Annie. And we've got to the end of the chat. So, yeah, it really is a very quiet chat today. So I don't have slow mode on because I don't think I'll need it. Okay, so Nicola disappeared. I'm just going to do a very, very quick recap of this case. I've now got, what, 4 or 5 videos spread across both of my channels, and I did a live. So I've covered the case and kind of everything we know about the case. I played the press conference in yesterday's live. So I'm kind of up to date, apart from the updates that have come out today. And if you saw my video from earlier today, I did a demo. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to look at Sonar, and we're going to talk about underwater mud. So yeah, it's not salacious, it's not exciting, but this is very important information. Okay, but you know, if I started doing salacious lives, how many more subscribers would I get? But I'd hate myself, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. All right, so check the front of that weir. Okay. All right. I want the map first. All right, so Nicola disappeared from a little village called St Michael's on Wyre, which is just north of Preston, a few miles north of Preston, which is the city. And then it's in the Blackpool, Fleetwood area, but it's just a little village. But it's got quite a busy, like the road that runs through it, like the main road that runs through it, it's quite busy. So even though not a lot of people live there, there is quite a lot of traffic through St Michael's. And if Nicola isn't found this weekend, I will be going to St Michael's on Monday, and I'll be filming there. So look out for that once it's done. But if she's found, then I won't be doing that. But I will be going on Monday and filming the experience, doing some tests there if she isn't found. Okay, so this is the exact location where Nicola disappeared from. Right here, just a bend on the river. The river is about 13 miles away from the sea, and the river, just zoom out a bit, the river comes out here in between Fleetwood and Knott End, and the estuaries into Morecambe Bay, which is this area here, which is incredibly dangerous, very dangerous, lots of quicksand. People have died either by drowning because the sea comes in. Once the tide hits this bay here, it comes in so fast because it's very flat, and it comes in faster than a man can run. So people have, you know, it's been low tide. People have gone out, you know, looking around, thinking that they can walk across, you know, all sorts of nonsense that people do. And the tide has turned and they've drowned, or they've got into difficulty in the bay and they've literally been taken by quicksand. So it's very dangerous area out in the bay. And what you see from the River Wyre is that it's very silty. Like the entire estuary is silty. Now, at St Michael's, it's at this point where the river becomes tidal, which is a big concern. And it's people who are covering this case just aren't focusing on the dangers of the tides. Now, people think, now, if you're at the sea, obviously the high tide is the most dangerous, or when the tide turns. Right, goes from low tide and starts coming in, and then you can't outrun it. When you're at the sea, yes, it absolutely is the most dangerous. But when you're in a river, right, low tide, a tide turning and going outwards, is really dangerous because it pulls the current towards the sea. And locals have said that even though this isn't deep, and it changes obviously quite a lot when it's high tide, but there's undercurrents in this river that people don't take into account of. And another thing that I highlighted in my video today was the power of underwater mud. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when I get onto the sonar part. So this is the place where Nicola disappeared from. And I need to share my screen a different way to show you this. Just a second. Okay. This is the spot where Nicola disappeared. This is a bench, and she's now been missing for 8 days. She went missing on last Friday, the 27th of January. And at the police conference yesterday, they honed in on a 10-minute window between 9:20 and 9:30 where her movements can't be accounted for. There's been a number of witnesses that come forward and saw her, even spoke to her, know her because she regularly walks her dog, a Springer Spaniel called Willow, in this area. And it's remote, but it's frequented by a lot of dog walkers. So there's always people around in this area. And the police believe that they've spoken to every witness. And that's how they've managed to locate her timeline so tightly. During the period 9:01 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., she was logged into a Teams call at work. So she was muted and had her camera off, but was listening to this Teams call. And her boss said there was nothing unusual about her behaviour on that morning. She'd emailed her boss at 8:53, and then she'd logged in at 9:01 and was listening to the call. Police have located her phone, so I don't know whether it would be by GPS, at this bench at 9:20. No, Dragonfly Lady, absolutely not. Wellies cannot help someone float. They are very dangerous in water. Very dangerous in water because they become very heavy. And they don't slip off like other shoes do. So no, they will weigh you down. I'll play you the little bit of my video from this morning. I'll show you. And I was in no more than 6 inches of water. So obviously I haven't seen that video, so I'll play it. I'll just play a little clip from it. But when we get to the mud part. Okay, so the police knew that she was at this bench at 9:20, and then the Teams call at work finished at 9:30, but she stayed logged in. So that's obviously unusual. When a meeting finishes, you log out, right, and go about your day, rest of your work and whatever. So at 9:33, so just 3 minutes after this team call finished, a dog walker, so just 9:33, a dog walker passed by and found Willow, the dog, agitated, like wandering around this area. Nicola's phone was on the bench and Willow's lead and harness were on the floor. And it's normal for Willow not to have her harness on when she's out on a walk. So this is the photo that I couldn't find last night when I was trying to find it, but that's just another angle of the bench area. So this gate here, you come through from the like the path to come onto the riverbank, and this is where Willow was found in this area. Agitated, dry, but agitated, as if she was concerned about something. And it was from that point that that the alarm was raised. So 8:50, she was spotted by a dog walker in this field here, walking along this path. And then 9:10, she was seen in the upper field here. And what she must have done is walk back along here, because it's at this point here where the bench was. And then it's actually 9:33, not 9:35. That's when Willow was found at this bench. And as you can see, it's I don't know, it's 2 yards from the bench to the bank. But when I go there on Monday, if Nicola hasn't been found, I'm going to do some measurements and stuff, so we get a very precise idea of this location. I'm going to measure the banking, I'm going to measure everything, right? And I'll be safe. Don't worry about me. I'll be safe. Thank you, Emily, for the $5. Also, thank you for the super chat that came through just as I was ending my live last night. And I couldn't thank you because it literally logged out at that moment. The super chat came through. So thank you for that donation from last night's live as well. Okay. All right. So that's where we're at. And over the 8 days, it's been a very intensive search. They focused on the river because it's the most logical scenario. Now, the police are keeping an open mind. They've not ruled out other possibilities. It's just that their working hypothesis is that she fell in the river, because they can't see how she's got out of this field area, because all of the exits from this river walk area are covered by CCTV. They've also got ring doorbells from the village. They've got dash cam footage. They are appealing for more, because obviously when you have a hypothesis, what you try to do using the scientific method, you try to disprove your hypothesis as well as prove it. So they are appealing for people who've not handed in dash cam footage or ring doorbell footage. Please contact Lancashire Police and give them that footage, because that might be the thing that disproves Nicola falling in the river, right? Okay, so there's an exit there near the pub restaurant The Grapes. There's an exit there where the camping site is, and this camping site, they literally have like 10 or so caravan units that they rent out, and then presumably they're not busy in winter, but in summer I'm guessing that this field they use for tents and stuff. And they're just a small they're just a small family run business who has the farm, and they just rent out a field to people. There's also an exit further up here that's covered by the Mad Hunter CCTV, which is a South African restaurant. Oh, it's permanently closed. So maybe there isn't CCTV there. But they've said that all the major exits have been covered, but they do want more information. There's an abandoned house here that's been searched. All of these fields have been searched. The properties, a lot of them are farms. Some of these in the village are like just small cottages and housing. But the neighbours have come out on force and helped. The farms have been told to check their properties. There's various farms around. All of this is farmland. Very small village. Not a lot of people live there. But as I said, this Garstang Road here it's a thoroughfare to go to other places. So you'll pass through St Michael's to go to other places. Like this road here, A586, that's Blackpool Road. I know that road very well. It takes you to the seaside at Blackpool. So if you're coming from up at Northernly and you're going to Blackpool, then you'll probably go this way through St Michael's. You might go that way, I don't know. But yeah, it's one of those thoroughfare villages. I live in a thoroughfare village It's annoying because we've got like quite a lot of traffic comes through. But it's actually really rural. Okay, they said the house isn't abandoned. Yeah, it's being done up. So it's being renovated at the moment. So it's old, it's shabby at the moment, but it is being renovated at the moment. But it has been searched, that's the point. Okay. All right, so I'm going to play some clips now. Let me go back to the other. No, I won't actually. So this is from Sky News. I've got 2 clips, just like 4 or 5 minutes each from Sky News. And this one is somebody who said that it's slightly unusual how the police approached the press conference yesterday, that it's slightly unusual that they've actually given their working hypothesis at this stage, which I thought interesting. So this is a discussion point. And then the other clip, also from Sky News, that I'll play after this, is about Sonar. So I want to have a discussion about Sonar. Okay. They're searching for a new witness. Are they? A lady in yellow with a pram. Okay, good. I'm glad. Because as more people giving footage, then it's quite, even though it's very rural, as I said, there's a lot of people out there. So they'll be asking people, did they hear anything? It's not necessarily did they see anything, it's did they hear anything? That's important. Something's just not adding up. What's not adding up, Ella? What's not adding up? The timeline? Do you think the timeline's wrong? Do you think the 10-minute window's wrong? What's not adding up? What's not adding up? Check the Daily Mail. You don't think she went into the river? Where did she go then? Where's she gone then? Because the search has been intensive. So the first search team was deployed at midday on Friday. So less than 2 hours after she was reported missing. They got people in that river straight away. And over the last 8 days, they've had multiple dive teams. They've used underwater sonar, drones, waders. They've searched all the way up to the estuary. But again, we're going to talk about that because of the limitations of sonar. And we saw this with the Kylie Rodney case, for anybody who followed the Kylie Rodney case, that Kylie's vehicle was missed, wasn't it, at first? I mean, I don't want to open up the conspiracy theories that it wasn't her car, well, whatever. But we saw that with the Kylie Rodney case. So we're going to have that discussion again today. They've also searched extensively on land. They've had numerous teams of tracker dogs out there. So if she'd been dragged off somewhere, how would the dogs not have picked up her scent, given that they'd have had to walk her off this field? So Nicola was here. How would her scent not be carried off with her? So if she'd been dragged somewhere and murdered, because this is open farmland, right? So where have they dragged her? Where have they dragged her? Into one of these caravans, I've heard said, well, there's 10 caravans there. Don't you think that they've searched those yet? And if someone had dragged her, like a few hundred yards to this caravan site, don't you think a tracker dog would have picked up on her scent? Yes. And don't you think if she'd been abducted, that Willow, the dog, wouldn't have stayed at the bench? Wouldn't she have followed? Willow stayed at this bench. When a dog tells you something, believe them. Yes, the dogs could pick up her scent. Absolutely, Dragonfly Lady. Exactly. The dogs would have found her. Exactly. Exactly. But this is from Sky News, and it's about the police strategy that's relevant here. So let's play this. I'll play it through. I'm not going to do a commentary on it. The links to this little article and the other one that I'm going to share in a minute, they are both in the description box. Okay.
Joining me now is Charlie Hedges, who is one of the UK's foremost experts on missing persons. Good of you to take the time out this Saturday morning to speak to us, Charlie. So the police's main hypothesis then, as we were all heard yesterday, is that she simply fell into the water here. It was a tragic accident. What's your assessment, having watched events unfold over the last 8 days or so?
That would seem to be the obvious thing to work on, and obviously important to eliminate that by doing the searches if it is not the case. But they will be looking at other forms of evidence and information to look for other lines of inquiry, which has been supported by the press statements from the police. And so it's not just about the river, but that seems to be the most likely scenario at the moment.
Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit of frustration amongst the family that this information was given out by the police yesterday. How unusual is it for the investigation team to give a theory that isn't backed up by strong evidence?
Unfortunately, it's one of the realities of working on these cases that you don't always get that evidence. It's slightly unusual to release such a strongly worded statement so early. But reading through the detail, it does appear that they are looking at all sorts of other opportunities and possibilities for what might have happened apart from the one they're particularly working on at the moment.
Yeah, missing persons inquiries do rely on the public's help, don't they, so often? Is there a danger that the public may now think, well, it was a tragic accident, we can perhaps take our eye off the ball a little bit, we don't need to bother looking at that dash cam footage or whatever it might be?
I think it is important to keep those other lines of inquiry open and encourage the public to look for things. Someone might be sitting on information that they think is unimportant, but could make a significant difference. So it is important to keep that going and to look at all of the opportunities.
Yeah, of course. Tell me how it works when a call initially comes into police about a missing person. What's the immediate assessment that's made?
Well, it has to be assessed against the information that's already known, and the veracity of the caller ascertained. They need to be interviewed to find out exactly what it is that they saw. Sadly, the police will get a number of calls from people who are fantasizing about what they might have seen or think they've seen things that aren't important. So it needs to be filtered through, assessed, and then move forward, but in a very prompt and timely manner.
And Nikki has been missing now for well over a week. What are the statistics about how quickly missing persons inquiries are solved?
The vast majority are solved within the first few hours. People tend to go and then come back the next big tranche within the first 24 hours. So when it goes on longer, it is more concerning. But some go on for many, many years without being resolved. As one family I worked with, Damien Nettles, he was 16 and went into the water when he was 16 and has never been found.
Yeah, really tragic. And the average demographic of someone who goes missing in the UK?
Vast majority are mid-teens. They unrest at home or in their care situation go missing very regularly. The spread across the country is fairly broad, and most other age groups are fairly evenly distributed. The last data we have that the police had in 2021 was the 266,600 plus calls for assistance in relation to missing persons.
And this case, then, from everything you've said, is pretty unusual, and the police. It almost seems like a floundering a little bit at this stage. From all your experience as a police officer and as an expert in missing people inquiries, what happens at this stage on day 9?
Well, it's reviewing the evidence and the information that's available, making sure they're covering all of the relevant areas, reviewing the search activity to make sure that is being properly done, which there's been a huge amount of effort put into that in a very, very difficult environment, incredibly difficult to search rivers with this level of certainty. But it's a review process, looking back, reflecting, and trying to identify any new lines of investigation and inquiry, and also being able to fully understand everything about Nicola, her life and what have you, which is difficult for the family because it needs to be intrusive, but we need to fully understand what's going on to see if there are any other reasons why she might have gone missing.
Okay, so that's that one. So I thought that was a fair assessment. It probably is, to be honest. You know, if you follow true crime, you know full well that sometimes at press conferences, the police give virtually nothing and won't show their hand whatsoever. But I think the police have shown their hand in this instance because they have no reason to believe at all that this is a criminal case. So the police don't have to hold anything back, because it's not like they have to shield details from a potential criminal or to hold details back because it could become very relevant later on when it goes to court. I think they've ruled out as much as they can the possibility of an abduction or of a family member being involved. Now, a lot of people have been targeting Nikki's partner, Paul. He's only done one short interview with the media and he's faced heavy criticism. Like I was quite angry about it last night when I came live, because people had been like commenting on social media saying that he was the new Chris Watts. And I just thought that was bizarre. Because if you see something floating in the river, that's why. So she was wearing a black gilet, which is a padded jacket without sleeves, black jeans and green ankle wellies, which are rain boots for those in America. So that's that. But no cameras covered the bench. No, it was just like a walking area, like a path through the fields. So much like the paths that I follow through the fields, like public rights of way that go through farmland. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. This is the problem. This is the problem. Yeah, 180,000 a year go missing in the UK, Irene. It's not really, because if you look at the map, okay, so the police have said it's 15 kilometers from where Nikki went in to the sea. I read 13 miles in an article. I read 13 miles, but I guess it depends where you're measuring it from. But 15 kilometers, it's like closer to 10 miles than 13. The river is very windy. So another issue that I've got here is the bankings. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Wyre, the name Wyre, W-Y-R-E, is Old Brittonic for winding. So literally, this is an ancient winding river. And it just goes through farmland after farmland. But as it gets closer to the sea, it becomes very, very silty, and the sandbanks. So about here, it starts to bank really, really badly here. And a body could very easily, because it's tidal, from St. Michael's, it's tidal, right? So it will ebb and flow with the tides in Morecambe Bay, as I said earlier. Now, yesterday, they searched an area called Shippool, which is here. They searched this area yesterday because I don't know whether they got intelligence. I don't know whether they got any, you know, a potential sighting of something in the river. But they searched this area yesterday. But this is a huge sandbank just before it gets to the estuary. And if you just zoom out, you know, you can just see how the sand has just built up, you know, over many, many, many years. And things get stuck in there, and then it estuaries out into Morecambe Bay. But as she went missing, it was low tide. So the tide was going out when she went missing, so it would have dragged her towards the sea. But then as the tide comes in, unless she's been stuck or she's sunk, it will move her back. Now, I've seen people in the chat saying, how long does it take a body to float? Now, that depends on the temperature of the water and the environment in the water. It can be as little as 3 days in warm water, but it's longer if the water is cold. It can be like 7 days if the water is cold. So it does vary a lot. It also depends on whether it's salt water or fresh water. So obviously, as you get towards the estuary here, the water will be very salty. And I can't remember which way around it is, whether bodies float quicker in salt water or float quicker in fresh water. I can never remember which way around it is. Some people might want to give me the answer because I can't remember which way around it is. But obviously this is an estuary. You can see just how silty it is. Obviously at high tide, that's all water, and it's dangerous, very dangerous. As I said at the beginning, this is Morecambe Bay. It feeds into Morecambe Bay, and this has like currents all of its own. And because it's very, very flat, it goes out a long way, and then it comes in. Once it goes past here, it floods in quicker than a man can run. And people have drowned thinking that they were safe because it was low tide, and the tide comes in so fast. People have died in quicksand here in the bay. It's very dangerous. If you go out on Morecambe Bay, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Some of it is wild and desolate. I've not been for ages, but there's a place called Hess Bank, which is somewhere along here somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it is. Maybe it's further up than Morecambe. Anyway, Hess Bank is wild. Oh, there it is. It's wild, but you stay near the shoreline. You stay near the shoreline. I'll show you some pictures from Hess Bank. Hold on. I'll just get my pictures up and then I'll reshare, because you obviously don't want to see all of my snaps and stuff, do you? All right. Hold on. Let me find them. What on earth? All right, December, November, October, September, August. Here we go. All right. Okay. Oops, let's reshare here. So this was from 2016. So here we go. This is Hess Bank. This is how wild and desolate it is. This is Reese's Rock, my son that was killed. We went on the day he was killed, like the anniversary of when he was killed, to Reese's Rock, because he loved Hess Bank. Why can I not move it? Why can I not move it? Why won't it let me move it? To do it this way. So you can see the tide's well out there. And it comes in so fast. Like you stare, it's so flat. Look, you can see just how flat that is. You can see for miles. And people think that they can walk out and, you know, I don't know what they think. They think they can walk out, they die in the quicksand, and they drown. So, yeah. And while we were there, the tide started coming in. So I can't remember how long we were there, but just look, right? Right, the tide's right over there. I don't know how far it was. I didn't try to walk it. And then by the time we left, there you go, look. And that's the shoreline. That's how quick that tide is, because the entire terrain is so flat. Like you can see, you know. So the River Wyre feeds into Morecambe Bay right at the bottom here. So people have asked me, like, if she made it out to sea, where would her body end up? I just don't know. I don't have that level of expertise to tell you. I just know the currents are quite unusual sometimes in the bay. I don't know whether she'd be washed out to sea. This is the Irish Sea. Oops. This is the Irish Sea. So the other side is Ireland. You get the ferry from Heysham, which is here. You can go at the Isle of Man. Beautiful. Go to Ireland. Beautiful. On the ferry. Yeah, the Cochlein disaster. Yeah. Yeah. There was cockle pickers in Morecambe Bay. It's a few years ago now, and a lot of them died because they were out in the bay picking cockles, you know, to sell, and they all died. I don't know whether they all died, but it was. That's right, Sally. Morecambe Bay Cochlein disaster 2004, when 21 Chinese illegal immigrant labourers were drowned in an incoming tide after picking cockles off the Lancashire coast. Absolutely. That was in the bay. Water was waist deep near the bench. That sounds about right. I mean, it depends on the tides. And it depends on rain, and there's all sorts of variables as to how deep it would actually be. But I've seen waders who were in there, it looked like about waist height. 21 died. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I want to play you. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's an unusual thing for the police to do. I just think that they're keeping an open mind. And I know today the news has been focused around the family, because Nicola's sister made a post on social media. I shared it on my video this morning. You know, just basically saying that it's just a theory. They don't want to believe that she fell in the river. There's no evidence she fell in the river, but there's also no evidence of anything else as well. And if you look at the banking there, it's grassy. So what evidence would there be? But when I go on Monday, if Nicola's not found tomorrow and I go on Monday, I'll do a test. I'm not going to get in the river. I'm not going to be so stupid, but I'm going to look at the terrain. I'm going to do as much as I can to answer as many questions as I can think to get information on. And I can always go back at a later date if this case turns into something criminal. I can go back and look and do other things. But at the moment, I'm focusing on the river because that's where everything's indicating. You'd be surprised, Chris. Don't think she would make it to the sea. It seems too far to me. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. People can travel for miles down rivers. However, I think there's potential reasons why she didn't make it to the sea, based on the amount of silt, the amount of mud, and the winding nature of that river. Just the way it winds. People tend to get trapped in bankings and under the bank, essentially. So just horrible to think about. Okay, so that's a good segue in to talk about sonar and underground mud. Or underwater mud, rather. So I'm going to play this clip. This, once again, is from Sky News. And the Twitterati have focused on the title and not actually listened to the content of this conversation. So everybody's like, this expert on Sky News said the phone's been left as a decoy. No, that's not what was said. So let's listen to what was said. This is only 4.5 minutes. Okay. Miss Wales, how did someone grab her? Mystique, how could, where would she have gone? Right. Right. She's grabbed at the bench. Okay. So her dog, no lead, no collar, in a highly anxious state when she was found. Her dog just stayed there. Didn't try to follow her. Didn't try to protect her. There was someone who found Willow at 9:33. So if Nikki had been grabbed at 9:20, right? Bear in mind that 12 minutes later, someone found Willow. Wouldn't Nikki have put up a struggle? Wouldn't she have screamed? Wouldn't Willow have been barking like crazy? Wouldn't that have been heard? So that's why they've been appealing for witnesses, because it's not just eyewitnesses, it's ear witnesses that are important in these places. It's open land, right? So yes, there's bushes, there's hedgerows, but where have they dragged her? And they've had multiple teams of tracker dogs. Why wouldn't they find her scent if she'd been dragged? There'd be drag marks. If people are saying that there's no marks where she fell in the river, well, there's also no drag marks of her being dragged off. What has someone done? Picked her up over their shoulder, like they do in the movies, and carried her away? It's like you put a grown woman over your shoulder to abduct her, and no one hears anything, because if she's over your shoulder, you can't put your hand over her mouth, can you? So you'd be screaming. The dog would be frantic. Come on, guys, come on. Let's think like detectives here, right? We're not on some like crime show, right? We're in the real world. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. How? Where's she gone? Where is she? All right. Okay. Willow would have easily got through that gate. Yeah. I mean, if you watch my videos and watch Cassie and the tiny holes she can get through in fences because she likes to rampage around private property. No one's told her off yet. No one cares. But she does like to have a little rampage around private property, and she can get through tiny holes in the fence. Tiny holes. So this fence here, right? If someone had dragged Nikki off through this gate, right? Willow had just gone under there. She could have jumped that gate. She could certainly have jumped that fence. Right? Come on now. Springer Spaniels are very good problem solvers. So if Nikki went through that gate and for whatever reason Willow couldn't get through, she'd have just gone to the fence and gone round. There's a fence there. She'd have just gone under there. She'd have been frantic. So When a dog tells you something, listen to them. Why was Willow at this point? Because that's the last place she saw her favourite human. Occam's razor. Thank you, sweet insanity. Thank you. Okay, right. We're going to play this next clip now. All right. So this is a Sonar expert. And then we're going to have a discussion about mud, and we're going to have a discussion about Sonar. Okay. It's only 4.5 minutes. Link is in the description. Pie in the sky. Tracker dogs are not perfect. They're not perfect. Certain types of terrain can put them off, but this is perfect terrain. This is perfect terrain for a dog. Grass, muddy, holds in scent, and that scent will linger in mud for several days. So they got tracker dogs out, they got people on the water, they got people searching the land almost immediately. That scent would have been incredibly fresh. Tracker dogs have problems when it's an old scent or it's a confusing scent, like in a home. It can be very confusing, or on your own property, because you're all over your own property. So they can pick up on, they're not really sure what's the most recent scent. They can get confused. On concrete, when a surface changes from grass or stones, a natural surface, to an unnatural surface, that can throw them off, because the tracks stay very fresh for longer in natural surfaces, particularly mud and grass. It holds it in. It's like a sponge. It holds the scent in. Whereas on concrete, that scent dissipates very quickly and the dog loses it. The dog gets confused because the dog obviously doesn't know, oh, this is an unnatural surface. Let me sniff about a bit more and see if I can find it. They don't. They just think they've lost it. Exactly, fly on the wall. And that's why they use multiple teams. That's why they use multiple teams. No, Miss Wells, they didn't find a scent. No. Okay. All right. I mean, presumably they'll have found the scent that she was at, where she went, where she walked, where she was, but nothing unusual. Nothing that made them believe that Nicola had been dragged off. So I think that's why police are saying, look, we've no evidence whatsoever that this was criminal. I can understand, as I said in my video this morning, I can understand why the family want to not think that, because they want to think she's alive somewhere. And I hope she is. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the police are wrong. And she's alive somewhere and can be rescued. But it's just the totality of the evidence you've got to look at. Now, if new evidence comes to light that suggests something very different, then let's go and look at that. But at the moment, I can't see a scenario that's simpler than being 6 feet from a river that's tidal when the tide is going out and pulling you towards the sea. Anyway, this clip. Right, I'm going to play this. I've got closed captions on for this clip because some people can't understand British accents. Where's my thing? All right. Oops.
We've been following events here very closely, and there was that news conference yesterday where we learned that the investigation now is very much focusing on the river. They have been searching now for 8 days. We're now into the 9th day. If, and it is a big if, Nicola is in the river, why has it taken so long to find her?
That's what I'm surprised about, Jonathan. I mean, normally when we scan a river, we can scan about 10 miles a day with our high-frequency sonar. It is the best in the world we have available. I mean, £53,000 worth of equipment, but it finds people quickly and then recovered by divers. This is not a really fast-moving tidal river. It's quite slow. It's moving slowly. It's quite narrow.
That's wrong. That is blatantly wrong. right, guys? That is wrong. That river is tidal, and locals have said that the undercurrents are very strong. So he's wrong on that point. He's not done his homework on that point. He might be a sonar expert, but he's not done his homework on the River Wyre and where it becomes tidal. It becomes tidal at St. Michael's.
So quite straightforward to search. I mean, the police divers are doing a great job, but they can only search a small section at a time. But I believe from the news reports that sonar has been brought in, but sonar is only good as the operator using it and the frequency. I worked on a case on Damien Tudge in Wales where he was missing for 18 months. It was searched 12 times with the sonar and they missed him.
Okay, so that's the Wyre. This drone footage, excellent. That's the Wyre. Right, so that's where Nicky was. That's the Wyre. So the tide comes up to the Wyre. But still, even though the Wyre's there, the fact that it's low tide, it's still going to drag the water here down this Wyre. Right, I'll take you to the Wyre, right? If I go on Monday, if Nicola's not been found, I'll take you to the Wyre. I'll show you the Wyre. There's a Wyre near me. I never go to this. It's the other side of the village. And I don't take Cassie and Tilly there simply because there's swans, there's ducks, there's all other sorts of birds that are on water. And it would mean I wouldn't be able to let them off the leads. So I don't go down there. But that's got a Wyre, and it's very, very fast flowing at the Wyre. Very fast flowing. It's very shallow, right? It's very shallow. I don't think anyone's drowned in it, but it's very shallow, and it's the river. What's it called? The River Yarrow, I think it is at that point. It's still very shallow, and it's stony at the bottom, so it's much, much safer than a silty river. But still, the Wyre knocks you off your feet. Take it from one who knows. The Wyre knocks you off your feet. Now, Nicky was here, right? And the Wyre's here. So this water is being dragged over the Wyre at low tide. So he's wrong on this. He's wrong on this.
I found him in 10 minutes when I was called in to find him in his car. So it depends on the operator. It depends on the equipment. So we mustn't get sidetracked with the, it's been searched with sonar. It just depends on the kit, what's being used.
Yeah, just give us a bit more detail, because it is fascinating technology, this underwater sonar. Just talk me through how it works.
What it is, Jonathan, you tow a missile, like a yellow missile type object behind the boat on a short cable. It sends sound waves across the seabed or riverbed, and then it hits an object and brings a return in. Now, because ours is 1800 kilohertz, it gives me a crystal clear image of the bottom of the river, every stick, every stone laying on the bottom. And if we hit a target, we can actually measure that target. And a body, if there's a body in a river, and hopefully Nicola's not, but it will show a head, arm, legs. It shows everything, and then we can then pinpoint it. It's the best piece of equipment for searching water. I've heard underwater drones are being used, but an underwater drone is effectively a remote operated vehicle on a cable, and you can easily miss areas, and obviously it's poor visibility, and they're not very effective. Sonar is the best way of searching a river.
And you've worked with police forces before. You have links with your local police force, I understand. And you have been called on at times to help because of your expertise and the equipment that you have.
Well, we have contracts with Kent Police, Essex Police, Surrey, Sussex, Thames Valley and Hampshire. We are the police dive team. We are the dive team for the whole of the South East, excluding the Met who cover London. So we are constantly called, and that's what we do. We average about 10 drownings every year, where we recover the bodies of drowning victims, suicide victims, and search for murder victims as well, both on land and in water. So we are top of our game in that particular area.
And if you were part of the team here, what advice would you be giving now? What would be your priority?
Well, I would be looking firstly at, is the evidence we got is a phone. Everything's drawn to the river at the moment. Obviously, we would put our sonar in. I worked on cases where there was a shoe left on the river and it was left as a decoy. We don't know if this has been left by a third party or Nicola as a decoy to drag all the resources down to the river's edge. And I'd be looking at that very clearly, how it's got there in the first place. But I would run our sonar along the river, and I would just see every part of that river, and you could quickly confirm or deny any anomalies in that river.
Well, perhaps your expertise is something that could be drawn on in this case, which now, as we say, is into its 9th day. Peter Folding, great to get your thoughts. Thank you very much once again. Good to speak to you.
Yeah, this dude might be a sonar expert, but he doesn't know this case, right? So I want to just answer a couple of points in the chat. Not everything conforms to Occam's razor. No, it doesn't, which is why you always follow the evidence. And Pie in the Sky said just a little bit up here, which I clocked, that I'm not staying open-minded like I usually do. However, what do I do? What do I do? I follow the evidence. The evidence in this case, in my opinion, at the moment, leads me to believe that Nicola went into the river. If new evidence comes along to negate that, I will include that new evidence to try to debunk the river theory and amend my theory appropriately, as will the police. The police said yesterday, Superintendent Sally Riley said they are keeping an open mind. They haven't found a shoe, no. What he was saying, this sonar expert was saying, was in a previous case he worked on, an abductor had left a shoe at a river as a decoy. So he's speculating that Nikki's phone was left at the river, at the bench, as a decoy. So the entirety of Twitter has now picked up on what this guy said and said, Nikki's phone's been left there as a decoy. What he and Twitter failed to understand is, why was Willow there? Was she also a decoy? The one of the reasons why I strongly believe, over 95% believe at this moment in time, I will never say 100%, in a case that's only 8 days old. But I have been around dogs all my life. They do not lie. If a dog tells you something, believe them. So if there wasn't a dog there, if the dog had been found in a completely different location, Nikki's phone had been found on that bench, but Willow found in a completely different location, I would look at this very differently. I would say that phone's been left there as a decoy to make people believe she went in the river. But the dog is telling me something. We look in this location where the dog was found. Right? Because humans, right, might think they're being smart by leaving a phone at a bench. Surely, if they are being so smart, right, to leave a phone there as a decoy, why would they leave the dog there? They'd either take the dog with them and dispose of the dog, or they'd tie the dog up so the dog couldn't follow. But no, the dog was loose, waiting in this area. She was found in this area in a highly agitated state. Yeah, she was running around. She was found here. So I'm guessing she was like pacing, like running around this area, highly agitated. But in this particular spot, in this particular spot. If they are exactly, Teffy, if they are telling you something, listen. If Willow had been found in a completely different location, that's the place I would be going to. Not the bench. I'd be going to that place where Willow was found. Not the place the phone was found. Not the place the lead was found. The place Willow was found. An abductor wouldn't leave a loose dog, you know, tell her to sit and stay. Come on now. This is a Springer Spaniel, for Christ's sake. Do you think a Springer Spaniel, right, who's one of the most intelligent breeds, excellent problem solvers, do you think that she would sit and stay when her favourite human was being dragged off, kicking and screaming? No. So if other evidence comes to light, like clothing, let's say clothing found in a hedgerow, let's just say, for example, in a completely different location, like further inland, I'm going to have to change my theory completely, because, well, how did Nikki's clothing get there? I'm going to change my theory. But as of yet, there's nothing to suggest that Nicola moved away from this location. Nothing, not a thing, not a shred of evidence, nothing. No CCTV, no witnesses have come forward that they've heard screams or dog barking. No witnesses who've come forward to say that Nikki was highly agitated or Nikki was behaving unusually that day. She'd spoken to her boss on that day. She'd been on a work conference call when she disappeared. Nothing suggests anything other than this being a tragic accident at this moment in time. And I'm sorry if that's not salacious and doesn't get the views. Right? I'm sorry about that. But I'm not going to drum up bizarre theories and drag her family through the mud saying her partner is the new Chris Watts, or that she's committed suicide and she's a rampant alcoholic, or that she's been abducted and being sexually abused somewhere in a shed. I am not going to say any of those things because I have no evidence to support any of those theories. What we have at the moment is very little, but what we do have indicates Nikki's last known location in Willow's mind was right here. If Nicola went into the water, why didn't the dog follow? Because she sank, in my opinion. Because she sank. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Sonar. But I want to kind of map this into a discussion about mud. Okay, so I've got this article here now. Some of you guys in chat will know way more about Sonar than I do. Way more. Link to this article is in the description box as well. You'll know way more about Sonar than I do. So please feel free to chime in if you know more. Do we know if the dog ever swam in the river? Yes, she did. Yes, she did. The dog would swim in the river. I don't know about at that location, but there are pictures of Willow wet. So, you know, she's obviously been in the river. Okay. All right. So in the Kylie Rodney case, that's why I entertained this guy, this guy, the Sonar guy. I entertained him because even though he got the case wrong, saying this was slow flowing, non-tidal, little river, you know, and that the phone could potentially have been left as a decoy, even though he didn't factor in that there was a loose dog also found at that location. Didn't know the case very well. However, I entertained him as a potential expert in sonar technology because we did know from the Kylie Rodney case, those of us that followed it, right, that they were searching that reservoir, the Prosser Reservoir. They were searching that for what, a week, more than a week, and they'd gone around and about and all over the place and missed Kylie Rodney's car when Adventures with Purpose turned up. And I know Adventures with Purpose is a very touchy subject because of Jared Lysek, but not talking about Jared Lysek. We're talking about the Kylie Rodney case, just as an example, as a very recent example that was followed by a lot of people in the true crime community. I covered the case extensively on this channel, so this is the perfect example. Adventures with Purpose, right? They found her within what, 30 minutes, 40 minutes? What did they do? They went into the place where the phone last pinged. So one of the things that they picked up on that the cops didn't seem to was, this is the location she went in, if she went in, because that's where the phone last pinged, right? So not from the boat ramp, right, around the other side. That's where law enforcement started, right? The other side of the reservoir, the other side of the like headland place, like the little peninsula that there was. That's where the cops started, thinking that if she's gone in the car, it's gone in at the boat ramp. No, the cops ignored the phone ping. And Adventures with Purpose, in their experience, came along and said, phone pinged here, let's do here. Within 30, 40 minutes, I forget the exact time, they'd located the vehicle because they listened to the evidence. In this case, we don't know if her phone's been pinged, but we know her last known location was here. Her phone was here. Her loose dog was here. This is the place you start your search, right? You don't start your search like a mile downstream or upstream, do you? You start it at the place they last searched. So that's what they did, right? That's exactly what they did. So then we have to think about the usefulness of sonar technology in river environments and the quality of the sonar technology and the expertise of the sonar operators. So that's why I entertain this guy when he says, you know, he mentioned a case where a person had gone missing and it had been gone over 12 times by sonar operators, but because they weren't expert enough and their technology wasn't good enough, they missed that person in the water 12 times. He turns up and finds that person in the water in 10 minutes. So you've got expertise to take into account. We don't know the sonar operators' levels of expertise. We don't know how many years of experience they've got using sonar. We don't know the quality of that sonar equipment. Obviously, the quality of sonar equipment varies based on budgets and all sorts of things. Like Lancashire Constabulary, you know, we're not having to do river searches very often. But there have been, you know, experienced search and rescue teams there from water agencies, like the Coast Guard has been there. So you've kind of got to think, well, they've got expertise, but what about the quality of the equipment? Also, the other thing that I want an answer to, and I don't know the answer to this question, is how good is sonar detecting in thick mud? So that's why I tried to find some information and I'm still unclear. That's why I want anybody who's a sonar expert in chat to pipe in on this point. So sonar, it's a sound beam, right? So they send a sound beam down. So I thought this was a good analogy, right? When visualizing how scanning sonar works in terms of sound, so they're sending sound waves down, right, that kind of bounce back off an object. And then on their screen, they're seeing, right? They're seeing what the sonar sees using these sound waves, right? So when visualizing how scanning sonar works in terms of sound, they are often referred to as a flashlight in a dark room. Only the illuminated area by the light is subject to vision for the user, for the user. The rest will remain dark. Right, so think about a completely dark room and a flashlight, right? You've got the beam of the light, and where you direct that beam, it's very bright. And then you've got some peripheral, haven't you? And then it gradually fades out to dark. That's how sonar works. So there's a beam, and it's going to be very bright directly where that beam is pointing, and then it's going to get less bright as it gets out to its periphery of its vision. And then the rest of it's going to remain dark. When compared to light beams, acoustic beams for sonar have a fixed height and width, which is the beam pattern. It's this acoustic beam that illuminates the targeted water locale with sound energy instead of light energy, but the analogy is still the same. Now, there's 2 points here. 2 points here. Scanning sonar systems usually have a narrow horizontal and wide vertical beam, which results in a narrow path for the energy to transmit from the transducer. To portray the image of objects in the environment, the head of the transducer inside the sonar will rotate with a step of motion and then move the head in an arc to generate slices of the object on display. So it's moving to get a wider pattern. Right. Returning to the example of the flashlight, if you take pictures of the area as light sweeps across the room, you will have slices of the room lit up. As the user, you will not see the entire room, but putting the slices together will let you see the total area. So it's going to scan about so that you get a wider range than just the beam. The beam's moving, so you get a wider area of scan. Okay, now there's a bit further down about the bottom visibility. Here we go. Now remember, it's relatively shallow, like waist height at most, but I suspect that the mud at the bottom of this river is going to be very sticky and potentially very deep, because the entirety of the, well, certainly from St. Michael's down to the sea, it's very silty. So, and the soil in Lancashire is clay. It's very high in clay. So mud in Lancashire is sticky, very sticky. So you've got a combination of sticky clay mud plus silt. As that, and that silt, that sand will increase the further towards the sea you get. So I suspect that mud comes into play here in this case. And I'm only saying that as a speculation at the moment. I'm going to do an assessment of this. If Nicola is not found on Sunday, tomorrow, I'll be going there on Monday. So get some answers. I'm going to get some answers for you guys and for me, for my sanity. Okay, so for individuals searching the bottom of a body of water and understanding signal strength at large distances decreases, they can mount their sonar systems at specific angles. So we're only talking about shallow, right? Shallow. Right, so we're not talking about sea. Okay. So that's what a sonar looks like. So it's giving you, that's its beam, right? So it's got its center beam, and that's its range. So as it gets deeper, that range kind of increases, and then it'll move, move, move. So in a very shallow location, right, then that's mud, that's very muddy. The water's shallow, but the mud is thick. My question is, how good is this sonar technology? Because it's not a solid surface. Mud is not a solid surface that the sound waves are bouncing off. So how does it treat mud? What does it do? Like, what does it do? Now, one of the points in here was about vertical surfaces. And I probably can't find it now. Object location. Probably can't find it now because that goes into types of sonar. Okay, but it said, right, if there's one object on top of another, literally because of the way that the sound waves are hitting off a surface and then bouncing back, if there's one object on top of another, it's not going to be able to detect the object underneath. It's going to detect the top object, but not the bottom object. So my question is this: if there's heavy mud, right, if Nicola has literally sunk into the mud, if the mud's that deep, will that sonar equipment be able to detect her as a solid object under the mud? That's my question. LiDAR can go through mud. Well, we don't know if they're using LiDAR. Mud is really scary. Exactly. Now, they have had waders out there. How come the waders and divers looking for Nicola have not been washed away by the strong undercurrents? Because they tie themselves to things. That's why, Jamie. If you've been watching the footage, they work in pairs and they are tied to the bank. They tie themselves to things. She was a strong swimmer. She would know how to swim in those conditions. Would she though? Would she though? Would she though? Because if you sink into mud, how can you swim? And you might be the strongest swimmer in the world, right? You could be the strongest swimmer in the world. But let's think about what Nicola was wearing. She was wearing wellies, so rain boots that will fill up with water and become incredibly heavy, so they act as a weight. She was wearing a padded gilet, which is like a jacket, just without sleeves, padded gilet, and another coat underneath. So she was fully kitted out for winter, but she wasn't kitted out for swimming. So it doesn't matter how strong a swimmer you are. If you're sinking into mud, you can't get your bearings at all, and you are sinking into mud. This is why people die in quicksand in Morecambe Bay, just 10 miles away from this, because the sand is treacherous. People die. They get stuck in the quicksand. The tide comes along and drowns them, and they cannot move. Would the divers, etc., disturb the bottom layers, then rescan the area? I don't know. I don't know what their strategy has been. When you sink into mud, it creates a vacuum and sucks you in hard. It absolutely does. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of my video from this morning. No, I don't want to leave the site. Oh, it's telling me I want to leave the site, right? Okay, so I'm not going to play more than a couple of minutes of this video, because obviously I want people to go and watch it, don't I? But this is the video. I need to share my screen, don't I? All right, so this is the video, not that. This is the video. So what I did in this video, was I showed you what I was wearing. So I had a hoodie and a gilet. That's a gilet. So it's a padded jacket, like makes me look like Michelin Man. No, I'm not bruised. No, I'm not bruised. Makes me look like Michelin Man, but that's what we wear in the north of England, right? It's a body warmer, basically. Body warmer with a hood. That's a gilet. So it's thick. It's thick. That would fill up with water, right? Fill up with water. What I was also wearing was ankle boots. Ankle boots. So we're going to play from here for a couple of minutes and see what happens. All right, I'm going to put the closed captions on just for a laugh. Just for a laugh. Because, and I chose an area in the creek that the banking was shallow so I could get out. An area where I knew there was a hard bottom to kind of start from. And it is very shallow. I'd say at the moment it's 6 inches. I'm not interested in the water. I'm interested in the mud. What I was showing, demonstrating, was how difficult it was to get out of this very safe location where mud is involved, because the clay, you can see the clay. You can see the clay. That's what it's like all over Lancashire. It's so slippery. So slippery. All right, so I filmed from 2 angles, so you'll see a nice little angle change. Right, I got it all sorted this morning. All right, so we're going to play this for just a couple of minutes, just as a demonstration. Right, so this is not a steep bank at all, but it is pretty slippery. All right. Oh my God. All right, so I've fallen already. And that literally was a very, very shallow part of the bank, but it was just really slippery. You can see the clay. It's thick. And I chose this area because this side of the bank was very shallow. The other side of the bank, I couldn't get out. I show this. I couldn't get out of there. Right? For love nor money, I couldn't get up that bank this morning on the other side. And I also found this little spot that I knew had a hard bit that I could at least kind of talk from and work from. Okay. But I'd fell already. So this is silty, very clayey. Right, so I'm going to go in an area where it's over my ankles. Tilly's momentarily tied up because there's a dog over the other side of the field. And now I'm not supervising her. She will run. All right, okay. So we're in over my boots now. Editing Michelle here. I just want to give you a sense of how that felt. So the water was incredibly shallow, just a matter of inches deep. But the mud was so deep, I could not feel the bottom, that my foot was being sucked under the mud. And I just couldn't move my foot. Keep watching. And I'll also say that my left foot was still on a solid surface at this point. My left foot was still on a solid surface. My right foot, however, had sunk. I could not move my right foot. And as I tried to pull it out, it was sucking my leg under. I don't know how deep that mud was in that point. I should take a stick and measure it. But my right foot literally was being sucked under. I could not move my right foot. Watch what happens next.
Oh, there we go. Right.
And you could see my left foot came up. If you saw that, you just saw that. I'll do it in slow. My left leg came up, but my right didn't. My right leg was still stuck in the mud when I fell. Watch.
My foot. Keep watching.
Hold on. I've done it.
Oh.
I've done it fast, not slow. Hold on. I'm used to quickening things up so much that right, slow. So okay. I'll do it from there.
I could not feel the bottom, that my foot was being sucked under the mud. And I just couldn't move my foot. Keep watching.
So you see my left foot come up. My right foot was still stuck at that point when I fell. But once I was on that solid surface on my arse, then I could pull my foot out. But let's imagine you were in waist deep water. Let's just imagine that this was waist deep and the mud was deeper than this is. I don't know how deep the mud was because I still had one foot on a solid surface. I don't know how far I would have sunk. I don't think it's that deep that I would have died, but I was walking very gingerly to ensure that I always had a solid surface under at least part of me. I sound like Candice. Oh. Buglow says, check for updates. The updates is another lady they're looking for. She's already spoken with police. Oh, I knew about that. Yeah. I knew about that. But I will check in a second. We'll look for the latest update in a second. All right. So now I get myself up and I want to just show you the banking.
Show your feet, go under the mud. It is really, really difficult to get out. Even if this is inches deep, guys.
And once my boots had filled up with water, that was a solid surface where I am now. I was struggling to walk, right? So I wish I'd stayed where that deep mud was and tried to get onto this banking, like the right-hand banking, this banking, because it would have proven my point even more. But I tried to get up this banking from this solid surface. Now, if I was in waist deep water, I was sinking in mud, plus I couldn't get a grip on the bank and my clothes were dragging me down. Are we building up a picture now of what can happen? Nature is cruel. Nature's beautiful, but beautifully cruel. Right, so I'll play the banking bit and then we'll look for this update.
Look, Tilly's.
Oh, and the other thing was Tilly was highly agitated. Tilly has not left my side all day. She's gone now. Like, she's bored. Cassie's in here, but Tilly's gone. She's bored because she knows why I'm sitting down. She's not left my side all day. I tied her up because there was a dog in the field and I thought she'd run after the dog, but I seriously underestimated her, seriously, because she was highly agitated. So I let her off and she was trying to, as I left the river and started to walk home, she did not leave my side. She was trying to direct me home. She was worried. Really for the win, Irene. Member for 1 month. She was a superstar today. So she really was. Cassie became concerned, but she was kind of doing her own thing. She was only concerned when I started to pay attention to Tilly. I think it was more of a selfish thing. But Tilly is very sensitive. And, you know, I'm her only human, right? Like, she's not interested in anyone else. I'm her only human. She won't go with anyone else. She protects me. She's a great guard dog. Whereas Cassie, completely different personality. You know, she's a great tracker dog, Cassie. She's a great worker, but she's not as faithful, in my opinion.
Tilly's concerned. I'm going to take her off just to see what she'll do, whether she'll try and rescue me. Right, so Tilly's off.
Thank you, Zoe, for the £10. Treats for the doggies. Oh, thank you.
You didn't see Cassie at all, did you? Cassie was minding her own business. Tilly's concerned. Tilly was concerned. So she would have stayed. Cassie's back. She's now concerned. So what would they have done if I'd have fallen in, couldn't get back up, and this was much, much deeper than a couple of inches, and it's probably maybe 6 inches deep over that way. That's exactly what happened. Right, so if I tried to get up this banking, there is no way in the world, if the water was taking me, that I could have got. No way I can get up this banking.
There was nothing to grab onto. Now, if you're in an area where you've got oval branches and stuff, you can grab onto a branch and pull yourself up, or at least save yourself from going under. But if it's just grass, you've nothing to hold on to. And I could, if there was something to hold on to, or if my clothes hadn't been dragging me down, I could have got up that bank. It's not the steepness of it. It's just there's nothing to hold on to. Like Cassie and Tilly run up that banking as if it's like speed racing. But humans can't. Humans are rubbish. Humans are rubbish. But anyway, right. So I talked about other things as well. I showed the statement from Nicola's sister. I talked about my stepbrother who went missing when I was a teenager and my search for him. We recovered him well, safe, after a couple of weeks. And then I did the walk home and I talked about temperature, and I was just showing you Tilly's behaviour and about how agitated she was all the way home. So let's look for some updates here. I think it's the most logical explanation, Rick. Looks like she might have got stuck in the mud. It's the most logical explanation. It wasn't actually that cold, Wicked Stitches. It wasn't that cold, but it was very shallow. Also, I tipped the water out of my boots and I was only in the water like over my boots momentarily, and they were just weighted down. Our reactions are slower. Well, they are, but also that we're just rubbish. It's rubbish. As a species, we are just rubbish. Right, I'm going to infuriate myself by searching Nicola Bulley. Okay, her Fitbit connected 4 days after she went missing. This is 38 seconds ago by the Daily Star. This is breaking news. 38 seconds ago. Nicola Bulley's Fitbit examined as watch synced 4 days after disappearance. Now, I've not got a Fitbit, so I'm relying on Fitbit users here to tell me what this means. Okay, so again, this is what I'm talking about. We're new in this case. We're brand new in this case. At the moment, everything is leading me to think she fell in that river. However, as new information comes in, I will try and debunk that theory. I'm not wedded to it, never wedded to a theory. Thank you, Callie Girl, for the $20. That's very kind of you. I'm never wedded to a theory. It's just taking the available evidence, seeing what fits, but also as new evidence comes in, you've also got to try and debunk yourself. Okay, so police hunting for missing Nicola Bulley are now reportedly investigating the woman's Fitbit smartwatch after it was activated 4 days after she disappeared. The 45-year-old mum of 2 was walking her dog when she went missing on Friday near the River Wire. Okay, dropped her children off at school. Right, okay. She's beautiful, isn't she? Okay, however, it's now being reported by who, though? We would need to know. Oh, the claim comes from a friend. Okay, so it's now being reported that the woman's Fitbit device was last synced on Tuesday, 4 days after she went missing. The claim comes from friend Emma White, who told The Sun the Fitbit has not synced since Tuesday. The police are trying other ways to try to get information from it. So it's not known how Miss White knows about the device syncing. Probably she's been talking to the family friend. The Fitbit is missing, but it's possible to see when it was last synced using the app on a phone. Nicola's phone was still logged into a conference call when it was found, but it's not known whether or not it was unlocked at the time. Bluetooth connections can work up to 100 feet away, so it's assumed that the watch was that distance away from the phone 4 days after Nicola went missing. This is big. This is big. So Pottermouth says they sync to phone. This is big. This is big. So presumably it's an auto sync. Like you don't actually have to press a button to get it to sync. Presumably it works like other cloud devices that every so often it will sync your device. I have everything I have in my house is Apple, apart from one Microsoft laptop, which I want to throw out of a window every time I turn it on. But everything, all my Apple devices sync with each other. Everything, like I can log on to one computer or my phone and see exactly the same thing. So, but it has to be within 100 feet. It has to be within 100 feet. I don't know, Molly, why 4 days. The police do have the phone, but they don't have the Fitbit. Yeah, synced. I'm saying it right, aren't I? Synced. So they synchronize. So synced is short for synchronize. So let's say that you've got an iCloud account or something like that, and when you take a photo on your phone, it pops up on your iCloud, and then you can see it everywhere. You can sync your music, so synchronize your computers to work together. Now, a Fitbit, I've never had one, so I don't know, but presumably you can set your Fitbit up that the app on your phone will update. Let's call it an update, right? It updated. Let's just call it that for ease of explanation. I did see a partner's interview, and I've talked about that. No red flags. I saw a man who was trying to hold everything together, a man who wasn't allowing himself to grieve. That's what I saw. No red flags. Actually, their house has CCTV. There is very good reason to know that Paul was working from home that day, and he did not leave the house until he had a call. They have CCTV cameras on their property, so he was not there. He was not there. Ruled out 100%. Okay, so back to this. Back to this. So it's connecting by Bluetooth to her phone. So the Fitbit is talking to her phone and updating periodically. I don't know how often it would update, but maybe it syncs every day. Maybe it syncs every time. I don't know. But it last synced, it last updated to her phone on Tuesday. But for it to work, it has to be 100 feet or less away. So it's syncing by connecting it. It's connecting and updating by Bluetooth. So the Fitbit is talking to her phone, and it's doing that by Bluetooth. And the connection can work up to 100 feet away. So it's assumed that the watch was that distance away from the phone 4 days after Nicola went missing. So she's not gone further than 100 feet, or at least her Fitbit hasn't. Now, is it possible that her Fitbit came off? Right, so Nicola wasn't there on Tuesday, but her Fitbit was, and maybe then it ran out of battery. But 100 feet. So the challenge now is to find that Fitbit. How could they have missed her, Zoe? We've talked about that. I want to know if she sunk in deep mud, that mud is going to block the signals of sonar. I need to know the answer. How successful is sonar when someone sinks into mud? Knowing what the mud is like in Lancashire, my county, this is my county. I live 25 miles away from her. Less as the crow flies, that's going by road. Less as the crow flies. The entirety of Lancashire is very fertile soil, but it's very clayey. And then as you get out towards the coast, it becomes very silty, very sandy. Why can't you see me? Because it's dark in this room. So there's no point me putting my camera on, but I will. That's what you'll see. Hello. Hello. It's dark in this room. Hello. 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 There we go. All right. All right, so that's a Fitbit. Police did confirm they had no info to give out on the Fitbit when asked about it earlier this week. The last statement from the police came on Friday. Superintendent Sally Riley said yesterday, it's now a week, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know all that. So obviously, when the police did the presser yesterday, they didn't have information about the Fitbit. Who's made this claim? Somebody called Emma. Just find it. The claim comes from a friend, one of Nicola's friends, Emma White, who told The Sun, so The Sun's a newspaper, highly reliable publication. The Fitbit has not synced since Tuesday. So the police are trying other ways to get information from it. It's not known how Miss White knows about the device syncing. The Fitbit is missing. It's possible to see when it last synced or last updated using the app on the phone. The police have the phone. Nicola's phone was still logged into a conference call when it was found, but it's not known whether or not it was unlocked at the time. Maybe the police have given the phone back to the family. Presumably the police will download the contents of the phone and give it back to the family. So actually, thinking about it, the police might not be aware of this, because if the police will have the download from the phone as it was last Friday. So if that phone is, how's that working? So right. This has just dawned on me. How's that Fitbit? If the phone, if the family have the phone, or whoever has that phone, if the police have the phone or the family have the phone, how is that phone 100 feet away from her? I don't understand that. Pottermouse says, Sally said they were working on the Fitbit. Did they take it to the river? The Fitbit is missing. Nicola was wearing the Fitbit when she went missing. So how can it be possible that if it's synced on Tuesday and it has to be 100 feet away? That doesn't make sense, because it doesn't matter. So did you guys grasp that before I did? So the Fitbit is at home, or how's that work? How does that work? So the police need to come out and make a statement on this. The police need to come and either confirm or deny what's happening here. This is big. This is big. Breaking news. Breaking. I should put breaking on my title now. I should do all like big caps and do breaking. Police took the phone to the river to help find the Fitbit. Maybe. Pottermouse. Maybe. She did have a Fitbit, yes. She was wearing her Fitbit when she went missing. The description from Lancashire Police, the update yesterday, was that she was wearing a black gilet over the top of a blue coat, black jeans, green ankle length wellies, rain boots, and a blue Fitbit. The Fitbit is missing. But this Emma person who told the Sun, she's in the loft. No, she's not in the loft. But I need right. Let's think about it. Lady in Yellow update on Leeds Live. Leeds Live. Right, I'll come to that. The lady in yellow with the pram, I assume you're meaning. Exactly. We need to know where the phone was when it synced. Yes. So it's not synced since Tuesday. It's not synced since Tuesday. However, why did it sync on Tuesday? Now, presumably, it's just done an update, a regular update, right? It syncs every so often. But why did it sync at all? Because according to this, Bluetooth connections can work up to 100 feet away. So it's assumed that the watch was that distance away from the phone 4 days after Nicola went missing. The Fitbit is still missing. Her phone isn't. It was found at 9:33 a.m. last Friday. So who has that phone? Do the police still have the phone? And did they take the phone to the riverside on Tuesday to try to find the Fitbit? That makes sense. Or do the family have the phone? Whoever has the phone or had it on Tuesday needs to speak up. Whether that's police or whether that's anyone else. I don't know, Mystique. I don't know when they gave the phone back to the family. I would assume they give it back that same day because they'll just download the contents of the phone and then give it back to the family. However, they might have not. They might have kept it because they might be using it to try to locate the Fitbit. So it could be that it's the police who took the phone to the riverside and got a sync on Tuesday. Could it have synced to another device? Well, it could have done, yeah. But that would have meant that another device was within 100 feet of her, of Nicola. So it still doesn't help us because is there another device 100 feet away from where Nicola's Fitbit was on Tuesday? The Fitbit is probably in the river. Well, if Nicola's in the river, the Fitbit's going to be in the river. But why did it sync to the phone? Why did it sync to the phone? Did the police take, or the family, did the family take the phone? Anyone? Did anybody in possession of that phone take it to the riverside on Tuesday and got it to sync? If so, that phone was within 100 feet of Nicola's Fitbit. Fitbits do work underwater, I think. Somebody told me in my live yesterday that some models of Fitbits will work underwater for a period of time, but others won't. Thank you, Amanda, for the £5. That's very kind of you. Now, it could be that as Nicola went into the river and was, trying to fight her way out, the Fitbit came off and the Fitbit is there now and she isn't. She's further downstream. But that still doesn't answer the question. Did somebody in possession of that phone take it to the riverside on Tuesday and get a sync? Because we now need to find that Fitbit. Could her partner's phone have synced to it too? Maybe. I don't know. It depends how many devices a Fitbit will sync to. Presumably, yeah. Maybe if her partner's phone synced to it. That's the reason. Do Fitbits have locate my device? I don't know. I only use Apple products. So I don't know. Would it have not run out of charge after 4 days? Again, I don't know. I don't know how long they keep their charge. Maybe it did. I don't know. We don't even know whether this Emma, this supposed friend, is even telling us the truth. So only if it had been paired beforehand, yeah. Okay, so that's big. That's big. That's brought up some very interesting questions. Very interesting questions. All right, second update. Please search for this woman. Please search for woman with pram in case of missing dog walker Nicola Bulley. So, this woman. Officers have released a picture of a key witness they want to speak to. let's go to Lancashire Police and get the actual statement from the Lancashire Police. Hold on. Thanks, police. Live Lancs, please. That's yesterday. They've not updated today. So where's this information come from? They've not updated about Nicola Bulley today. Hold on. I'll just do... we've got too many windows open now. Nicola Bulley. BBC. Where are they getting the information from? Officers now say they want to trace a potential witness, a woman in a yellow coat who was walking on Garstang Road and Blackpool Lane on the 27th of January. She was walking in the direction of Allotment Lane towards the Grapes pub at about 8:22 and was seen again on CCTV walking on Allotment Lane towards Garstang Road 20 minutes later at 8:40. Police believe she may have walked along the river path and are urging her to get in touch. Why? Because that's Nicola hadn't even arrived. Nicola hadn't even arrived by then. She dropped her kids off at school at 8:43. So why do we want the woman in the pram, with the pram? Detectives have also made a fresh appeal for drivers who might have dash cam footage from the area where Miss Bulley was seen to come forward. It's really important that we gather as much footage as possible. See, so the police have not given up. They're not saying she's in the river and that's that. We're giving up. They're exploring every possible scenario. So I don't know why people are criticizing the police. They're doing all they can. They're keeping their options open. But why do they want this woman with the pram? What's that all about? It's really important that we gather as much footage as possible. They said that yesterday. Okay. Miss Bulley's sister urged people to keep mind open about what might have happened. Post on Facebook. I shared that this morning. Nicola Bull. Right. Nicola Bull. This is Emma. This is Emma. This is the person who's given this tip about the Fitbit. Let's listen to what Emma has to say.
We've still got a missing piece of that jigsaw. The police were still asking yesterday. We're on this road here. This is Garstang Road. They're calling for dash cam footage off this road. So there's still an exit unexplored down there that Nikki could perhaps come out. So no line of inquiry has been fully investigated.
Of course, the police are continuing their search. They've
They
got
are,
search teams coming down here today,
yeah,
concentrating on the river. But while all this is going on, and whatever theories people come up with, the fact is there's still a partner Paul. There's still a little girl's just waiting for some concrete news. I mean, you spoke to Paul today. How's he coping today?
Yeah, the message is really loud and clear. We keep going. Again, we're based on this theory. I mean, we can't talking about a life and basing it on a theory. We can't go and tell those girls, well, the theory could be X, Y, and Z. We need some evidence, and whatever the news is, then we deal with whatever the evidence comes. But at the moment, we can't go out. So we're out in force today, raising that awareness. If anybody does see anything, hear anything, jogs the memory of last Friday, please share. But we on the bulletin yesterday, we're asking for factual information. So that influx of calls yesterday, we want the facts.
That is the thing, isn't it? It's facts. It's
Facts.
people who definitely saw
Absolutely.
her. I mean, there are detailed descriptions of the clothes she was wearing. Obviously, a photograph is everywhere, so people know what she looks like when she was wearing. But basically, the family's still just waiting for some concrete news.
Yeah, and some good news.
So that was today, and Emma White did not mention a Fitbit. 1 hour ago, that was posted. Emma White did not mention a Fitbit. So where's this information about the Fitbit come from? Miss Bulley's friend, Emma, told the Sun police were working on extracting data from the phone. Oh, there you go. The Fitbit has not synced since Tuesday, she said. The police are trying other ways to get information from it. I can't remember who just asked in chat, but schools generally start at 9 in the UK. Like 10 to 5 to 9 or 9 o'clock. So my explanation at the moment is that Fitbit is within 100 feet of that river, that riverside of the bench. Maybe has come off. We might say, right, but we might say, look, we need to know, we absolutely need to know. So this is the woman being appealed for. We need to know who had possession of that phone or any device that her Fitbit syncs to on Tuesday. Lancashire Police. News. Where's the news section? News. Where are the people? Where's BBC got this information from about the woman with the pram? Because the police haven't updated their own website or their own social media since yesterday. So where's the woman in the pram? Where does the woman in the pram fit into it? Because Nicola hadn't even started her walk when the woman in the pram was there. So are the police looking at another line of inquiry and think that the woman with the pram knows something or saw something or heard something? But Nicola wasn't even there then. So I don't know what to tell you. Seems all the Sherlocks and Miss Sparkles are out in force here on Twitter. They are, certainly. So this is the woman in the pram. Oh, it's got a picture of the kid. Right face on. Nice one. That kid's face is now all over social media. Thank you to the person who shared that. Not funny. So that's the woman with the pram. So whoever you are, woman in the yellow coat, come forward and tell us what you saw. Maybe it's Nicola. It's not Nicola. It's not Nicola. Oh, my word. That's not Nicola. Dear me. So we need to watch this very closely now. Woman with the pram is on the road that has no CCTV. Yeah. But if she's on the part of the road that has no CCTV, she was there before Nicola even started her walk. So how is anything she saw or heard relevant? They say she did come forward. Who says? If she came forward, that's fine. Who says she came forward, though? Where's that information come from? Because Lancashire Police have not updated. So where's this information coming from?
Come out in force today. We've got banners, placards.
Oh, that's 10 minutes. Woman in pram saw. Well, anyway. Gizzy Sue, if so, she's already found. If so, what? Yeah, exactly. Whoever shared face pics of the kids a disgrace. I know. That was days ago. So maybe the people who are thinking that the woman's been located are thinking about the woman with the red coat. This is a woman with the red coat. This woman. Because she was in the area at 8:50. And she came forward. So I'm wondering whether people are confusing a woman being like came forward and said she saw Nicola in this lower field at 8:50. And then that's when her phone was found at 9:33. But this woman, I'm scared of showing you the picture now, but because there's pictures floating about with this kid with a full face on view. But this woman was seen at 8:40 walking along Gorstang Road. So they might want information from her about what she saw or heard, but Nicola wasn't even in the area. She didn't drop her kids off from school until 8:43. You think it synced on the 24th? No. How long does it take Cassie to dry off? Not very long. Not very long at all. The other day when I did my experiment, like her back and her ears and her face was dry within 55 minutes. But her legs and belly were still wet because she'd been like in puddles after that. So it wasn't a perfect experiment. Friday Nicola went missing. Tuesday would actually be 5 days. It would be day 5, but you count. So day 1, like 24 hours is Saturday, and then 48 hours Sunday, and then day 1, the first full day is Saturday, then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That is 4 days. The dog was dry. Willow was dry, yeah. Right, I'm going to have to read this article again because people are saying that the Fitbit synced on the 24th. But where's that information come from? Because the article that I've just read said 4 days after she went missing. So let's read it again, if I can find it. What's that? Oh. There. Friend Emma White said on Saturday, so yesterday, no, today, that the Fitbit had not been synced to a device since Tuesday. Miss Bulley disappeared last Friday. Here it is. There. Synced 4 days after the disappearance. That's what the news is reporting. It's now been reported that the woman's Fitbit was last synced on Tuesday, 4 days after she went missing. The claim comes from friend Emma White, who told The Sun the Fitbit has not been synced since Tuesday. The police are trying to find other ways to get information from it. Now, it could be that Emma White meant the 24th, but the media have misquoted her and thought that she meant this Tuesday and not the previous Tuesday. That could be a very simple explanation, that the Fitbit had not synced since for 3 days before she disappeared. Therefore, the police didn't get any information from it on the day she disappeared. That could be a logical explanation, that it's the media that have misquoted her. That could be the obvious explanation. Thank you, Cat Lover, for the $4.99. That's very kind of you. Probably it was The Sun. I think she meant the 24th. I think she might have done, yeah. Reading it back, it's not a direct quote, is it? It's not a direct quote from Emma saying the Fitbit synced 4 days after she disappeared. That's not the quote. She said the Fitbit has not been synced since Tuesday. The police are trying other ways to get information from it. So it could mean the Fitbit has not been synced since Tuesday. The police are trying other ways to get information from it. So if it's not synced for 3 days before she went missing, there would be no information on the day she went missing that Fitbit app on the phone would have. That makes way more sense than thinking, how on earth did her Fitbit sync to her phone 4 days after she disappeared? Oh my God, she's in the loft. That makes way more sense, that the press have misrepresented what she said. But I would still like to have an update from the police to actually state that is the truth. Christina, member for 4 months. Glad to be here. Prayers for her family. Yeah, they need everything. They need every help, everything thrown at them at the moment. That makes totally more sense to me. I still need to know. I still need to know exactly, in Emma's own words, what she said. But I have a sneaking suspicion that when she said Tuesday, the press have just assumed she meant this Tuesday, 4 days after, not 3 days before. Thank you, Christina. $4.99. Sorry, this is happening so close to you. Yeah, at least it's a case that I can actually go to the scene of, though. Not that you want anybody to be in peril or to lose their life or anything like that. You don't want it to happen anywhere, but I think it needs to be clarified. It totally does. But as it came from The Sun, the quotes from The Sun, I'm going to go to The Sun, right, and see what the actual article in The Sun says. Oh God, there's a missing dog ball now. Oh no. There's a missing dog ball. Maybe there's balls in the river. Here we go. All right. So police are saying examining the Fitbit. All right. So that's Emma. Okay, what Nicola was wearing was listed, including her pale blue Fitbit. Her pal Emma has now said police are working to get the data off the Fitbit watch. Emma told the Sun the Fitbit has not been synced since Tuesday. The police are trying other ways to get information from it. The insider, so Emma, reported that there's someone at my door. Oh, it's Kyle's food, I think. Reported that there are ways to track where a Fitbit is using its app or third-party tracking app. Explains there are ways to use any smartphone Bluetooth to link up with the Fitbit watches up to 100 feet away. In the cops' update yesterday, they confirmed detectives were working behind the scenes, analysing CCTV, dash cam, and carrying out other digital inquiries. When asked about Nicola's watch, the police said they had no info to give out on the Fitbit. Speaking this morning, pal Emma also rejected the police's theory that the missing mum could have fallen into an icy river trying to retrieve her dog's ball. Speaking this morning, Emma said Nicola no longer took a tennis ball on her walks with Willow because the pooch would pester her for the toy. Just let her play with it then. So we go on to the tennis ball. I don't care about the tennis ball. What I care about is whether this was the Fitbit, when the Fitbit synced, when the Fitbit updated. Oh, it doesn't tell us. I think, just the way it's worded, I think she's been misquoted by the Star. Because the Sun haven't said, and she didn't say, it's synced on Tuesday, because that would be massive. That would be huge. But it wouldn't be if the Fitbit synced on Tuesday, 3 days before she went missing. That would be problematic, because it would mean there's no information from the day she went missing. Heard family say Willow hadn't had a ball for a year. Okay. I really don't care whether Willow had a ball or not. What I care about is where is Nicola? Where is Nicola's Fitbit? And when did it last sync? Which Tuesday? Which Tuesday did it last sync? But just the wording of it, now I've read it and reread it and reread it, it does seem, in my opinion, that it was Tuesday before she went missing, and that's why the police haven't been able to get any information from the Fitbit. That makes more sense. That makes me feel a little bit better, but I need the clarification to decide whether I need to start factoring that into my theory or not. Wonder about earbuds too. These can be found if connected to a phone. Earbuds go out of charge pretty quickly though. I have AirPods, and if you don't put them back in the case, they run out of charge. And also, if they've gone in the water, they're not waterproof. Not to be submerged in water. I mean, they're water resistant, so they're not going to break if it rains on you, but they're not going to work very well in water. Alyssa, thank you for the $2. That's very, very kind. Very kind. The Star can be unreliable, yeah. So you've got one unreliable paper which actually is a better article than the Star's. And the Star have taken this and ran with it. The Star seems to be worse than the Sun. Well, they just, the wording was very alarming in the Star. But I think the Star has misquoted her, because the Sun, who actually spoke to her, didn't say 4 days after she went missing. Her pal Emma now said police are working to get data off the Fitbit. Emma told the Sun the Fitbit has not been synced since Tuesday. The police are trying other ways to try and get information from it. So through third-party apps. So I don't know. It could go either way. Do canal boats go along there? No, not as far as I know. Because there's a weir. So no. For those asking what a weir is, I'll show you. It's like a little dam. Let's get a better picture. Right, that's a weir. So in places that are tidal, I mean, some weirs are not as big as that, but in some places that are tidal, we'll put a weir in so that the tide doesn't go out like way up, and it helps with flooding and stuff. So there's a weir at St. Michael's, just further downstream than where she went. So that water is being pulled towards the weir. I don't know, guys. And then as it's low tide, if she gets as far as the weir, she's going to go. She's going to go. Some weirs are not as big as that. But they are dangerous. Like, that's a huge one. The weir on the river close to me is not that big. Like that. That's about the size of the weir near me. But you'd be surprised how agitated the water gets, like round the weir, especially when the river's, if the river's tidal at the other side. So it'll pull the water down. It's a flood defense and God knows what. Weird diagram. Okay. Got two weirs there. Draw down. It's drawing the water down, and then it's kind of stopping water going back. So it's drawing the water down the weir. It's dangerous. Should be trapped at the base of the weir. I'm guessing they'll have checked that. I'm guessing they'll have checked that. It just draws the water down the weir. Like, it helps with drainage in those, in those areas. And then where you've got the tides coming in and out, it just helps regulate the water and draw the water down. Small waterfall, yeah, man-made. So it's got a weir, so no, there's not canal boats on it. How far to the ocean? It's the Irish Sea. It's about, it's between 10 and 13 miles. I've seen it said that it's 13 miles from the sea, which is the Irish Sea. But the police have said that where she went in is 15 kilometres. So I think that's about 10 miles, 10 or 11 miles. So that's the sea there. It's the Irish Sea. It feeds into Morecambe Bay. So if you rewind back to the beginning, I talked about the dangers of Morecambe Bay. I talked about the terrain around the river. So in this footage, it showed the weir. So I'm just going to flick through. There was some really good drone footage in this that showed the weir very close to where she went out, where she could have gone. Because that was one of my questions, like, where's the weir? Like, whereabouts is the weir? I knew there was one in St. Michael's, but where was it? Oh, it's coming up here.
Southeast, excluding the metro cover London. So we are constantly called. And that's what we do. We average about 10 drownings every year. Where we
there was a better shut up, you. There was a better drawn piece. Maybe in the other article. The video. I know you when you know that. Oh, here it is. There's the weir. All right, so that's where Nicola went missing. There. So that's the old abandoned house. And that's where the weir is. Don't stop it. All right, so she fell in there. The water's pushing her. If she got round that bend and got to the weir, the water's pulling her down through the weir, and then the tide's pulling her out to sea. 10 drownings a year in this river. No, I think he meant 10 drownings a year in his river where he polices. I think there's more than 10 drownings a year in rivers. I think he meant in his river where I don't know what he meant, but not in this river. I don't know, it might have meant in every river in the UK. Because many rivers are shallow. But yeah, that's the weir. Gonna take a picture of that for my little slideshow, because that's what I do. I hope you can't hear my son swearing. Kyle, stop swearing. You're on live stream. All right. So, yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on. No, it's way too windy and too silty and dangerous. I don't know about the nature of the mechanics of the weir, but I'm guessing that's one of the first places they checked. Yeah, I said that earlier. We're just calling it the abandoned house because that's how it was put in the press initially, that it was the abandoned house. They have checked the abandoned house, yeah. They've checked the abandoned house. They've checked all the buildings, sheds, all of that. They've done all of that. But it's not actually abandoned. It's being renovated. Like, it's got a major renovation project going on. So it's an old house that's not being lived in at the moment because it's being renovated. They are. People are very confident in nature because it's beautiful, isn't it? But you have to be aware that nature's cruel. It's very cruel. So people underestimate nature all the time. Even shallow water, when it's muddy and silty, is incredibly dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And when you factor in tide, the weir very close, it's just a very dangerous area. But the abandoned house has been, it was found on the, I don't know if it was the day or the day after she went missing, the searchers found the abandoned house and weren't obviously allowed to go in because they weren't law enforcement. It was one of the first search team that got there, and they weren't allowed in because that's not their remit. They went in the barn and searched the barn. They probably shouldn't have even done that, but they searched the barn. And then the owner of the house turned up and he searched the house. And then the police turned up and they searched the house. So it's been searched. That house has been searched. So, no. And if you look at the layout of this place, the abandoned house is over the other side of the river. So, where am I here? Okay, so the abandoned house is over the other side of the river. So whoever abducted her would have had to wade into the water, waist deep, right? Wade into the water, waist deep. Abduct her, so get her through this water, kicking and screaming, right? Her dog, completely dry, going mad, frantically barking at her humans being dragged away. Right. So, and then take her to the abandoned house and then somehow get her body away. Well, that's possible because you get onto Hall Lane here. But how would you abduct her to take her to the abandoned house from that location? How would you do it? How would you do it without being heard? I don't know, guys. It's why every abduction scenario I think how that's not possible. The search dogs went to the house. The search dogs have been all over this. They've been all over the fields. I don't see how she could have been abducted from that location and her body not be found, or at least any sign at all of her being abducted was not there. I don't know. Where was the weir in relation to the bench? Very close. So just round the other side of the bend. So this is the bench here. The abandoned house is here. It's just been cut off in my screenshot. Just here. This is the bench. This is the weir. So you've got to go around this bend. And then that's the weir. But the water is being pulled over the weir. It quickens up the pace of the water. And then this side of the weir, it's tidal. So the weir is acting as a bit of a buffer against the tides. But if she's been pulled over the weir, then she's taken by the tide. So it's very close. How was her dog not wet? Because the dog didn't jump in. And I think, just my personal theory, I think Nicola disappeared under the mud and Willow was confused. I think Willow was confused and didn't know what to do, and that's why she was highly agitated. That's just my personal theory. Do the search dogs track a scent to the river? Well, the search dogs would have started at that last known location and worked out. So they didn't need to track her to the river because they know she was there. So they'd have started at the point where they knew she last was. Where's this information coming from? Pepper spray will mess up a dog's sense of smell, and she could be unconscious or under the threat of violence. Right. Pepper spray dissipates if she's been dragged off, right? The scent will get picked up by a dog out of the range of the pepper spray. I don't know where that information's come from. I don't know what's the science behind that. What experiments have been done to prove that any search by a search dog proves unreliable after pepper spray has been used. So where please cite your sources. I want scientific journal articles about this information, please. Thank you. Oh no, we have a family friend who was walking his son along the pier of Lake Michigan. The boy stepped on a rock and fell in. 8 years old. Oh no, did they get him out? I'm guessing as you've got the crying emoji that they didn't. Oh, that's awful. Could there have been the boat on the river that took her? Well, theoretically, yeah, but nobody saw a boat. I mean, well, theoretically, I guess, but where did the boat come from? Why did nobody who was walking by the river that day see a boat? A boat just can't appear out of nowhere. So nobody's mentioned that there was a boat in the area, even though she was seen. She was seen at 8:50 by this woman who was in this field. So this woman at 8:50 didn't see a boat on the river. And then at 9:10, she was seen in this field on this path. So she must have been like walking on her way back, I'm assuming by 9:10. And this person didn't see a boat. So where did the boat come from? Boats don't just appear out of thin air. So where did the boat come from? And then at 9:33, so Sky News are wrong by 2 minutes. At 9:33, Nicola had disappeared and Willow and the phone were discovered, who also didn't see a boat. So where's the boat gone? Oh, he drowned. Oh, no. Oh, that's awful. I couldn't cope with that. I can't. A boat over the weir. I mean, people do go over weirs in boats. They go like canoeing and stuff over weirs. So technically it's possible to boat over a weir, but somebody escaping with an abducted woman and then canoeing down the weir. Or they're going to go upstream and going to fight the river upstream, right, with a little rowing boat or a motorboat. I mean, motorboats are loud, aren't they? So they'd have heard a motorboat. So they're going to now, right, abduct a woman, right, knock her out, leave her dog at the bank who's frantically barking, and they're going to row upstream. They're really tough with an abducted woman. Come on now. Right, do it. Try it. Jet ski. Abduction by canoe. Yeah. Do any of you live near the water? They don't, do they? No, they don't. But yeah, assuming all these were just, I've been collecting tweets, but I stopped doing it because it was driving me insane. Yeah, so if she's not found by, yes, I want to save it. If she's not found by Monday or Sunday night, then Monday I'll be going to St. Michael's. So you live right near that river. What's it like? Is it, because I've heard some of the locals say that the undercurrents are like dangerous. So I'm guessing they will be. She was. That's the report of the person who found her. Said she was agitated. The only thing that makes sense, is that she drowned and the bottom of that river is really muddy. She got stuck, she sunk down, and then the current has managed to take her. Or, this is what my question was about sonar. This is why my question about sonar is so important. If she sunk under the mud, then can sonar still pick her up? But I'm assuming that as waders have been in, that they would have realised that the mud can sink you down, and you know, because they'd have had to be pulled out. I mean, obviously they use ropes. They tie themselves to ropes so that they don't get into danger themselves, but they'd have had to be pulled out by the ropes, wouldn't they? I don't know. So that's the only thing that makes sense to me, is that the mud has taken her down, stopped her from getting out initially, and then she's just been, you know, she's been flailing about a gilet, whatever it's called, and her welly's filled up with water, and then the current's just taken her. That's the only thing, the only scenario that makes sense to me. And it absolutely still makes sense. It makes sense because you can be taken and simply not get found, because sonar isn't a perfect science. We talked about it in depth earlier. It's down to the equipment that's used. It's down to the environment. This is what I want to know more about. It depends on the expertise of the sonar operators. She could have been missed. It's also possible she could have made it to the sea. I find it unlikely, though, given that the river's so winding and given that there's silt build-up along the kind of latter stretch of it towards the estuary. I find it unlikely that she's managed to get out to the sea. If she went in the river, I just think she's been missed. So that's the only thing that makes sense. Only thing at this moment in time. But we're waiting further information, because this is still early on in the investigation. So it's just awful. It's really awful. Anyway, I'm going to go. I've been on nearly 3 hours. I was on like 2.5 hours yesterday, and I've been on nearly 3 hours today. Yes, they've searched the mansion. Yeah. Okay, right, I'm going to go. Dylan Ealer as well. Yeah, absolutely. I did a video on Dylan Ealer a while back. I mean, that is just heartbreaking. Like, his dad still goes out, doesn't he, every weekend searching for him. And that was a little creek. That was a little creek. But it was fast flowing enough that it could have took him out into the Salmon River and then took him out to sea. That's just terrifying. Just that little boy, little tiny boy, that little tiny body. The power of water, though, it's astonishing. It's just so sad, Dylan Ealer. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. So thank you for keeping it respectful in chat. I mean, you know, we're all entitled to our opinion. It's just a case of being respectful about it. And I think everyone's been respectful. And yeah, some questions do seem silly to those who understand nature. However, I understand that not everybody, you know, if you live in a city and you've never needed to think about these things, then you don't know what you don't know, do you? So there's that as well. So I said this morning in my video, you know, I do take the piss a little bit about people like city dwellers, but you learn, everybody learns, right? And yeah, if you know, you ask a question and it might seem silly, but you can guarantee there's going to be 10 other people thinking exactly the same as you did, and you asked the question. So it's useful. It's useful to ask questions. But yeah, just so, you know, take it with a grain of salt when I get a bit snarky. But yeah, anyway. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you to the mods. As always, you've been very helpful. Thank you to the people who super chatted and super stickered. I don't think we had any new members tonight. I don't think we've got 1,000 likes, so I won't be giving any memberships away. So we've got 434 likes, so nowhere close to giving memberships away. Anyway, I'm going to keep you updated on this case. Go and check out my video from today. Go and laugh at the demo. Go and do me falling in slow motion. And yeah, all right, guys. Take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.